If you're tired of paying for Lightroom every month, but Darktable feels overwhelming, this video is for you. In the next few minutes, I'll show you a simple 10-step workflow that turns Darktable into something predictable, efficient, and honestly, powerful. We'll edit a real-world image, build a reusable base look, batch apply it to an entire shoot, refine the details, and export properly. This is the exact same workflow I use, including on images that end up on the cover of magazines. This isn't theory, it works. But before we begin, Darktable needs to be configured correctly. I've created a free setup guide. It's linked in the description below. Set it up once, and this workflow will make sense. Let's start editing. I've imported some sample raw images from an air-to-air photo shoot I did of a 1941 Boeing Super Stearman biplane, keeping this channel's aviation theme alive. I photographed it from the co-pilot seat of our club's Cessna, with Brendan flying a tight formation while I tried to capture the perfect frame. One of these images ended up on the cover of Copa Flight magazine last January, edited with this exact workflow. From the light table, double-click on the hero image to open the Darkroom module. The first thing you'll notice is that the image looks drab or washed out. This is because we're editing a RAW file, not a JPEG. A RAW file is just sensor data. Every editing program needs to apply some sort of pre-processing to make this raw data visible on your computer monitor. Unlike Lightroom, Darktable doesn't apply heavy automatic processing. Darktable gives you more control, but that means we need a clear structure. Along the right side of the screen, you'll see my simplified set of modules. By default, Darktable shows dozens of modules. That's part of what makes it feel overwhelming. I've reduced the visible modules to only the ones used in this workflow. This removes decision fatigue and makes Darktable behave more like a structured editing system rather than an unorganized toolbox. If your module list looks different, refer to my setup guide and configure it once before continuing. The header of each module contains the following controls, from left to right: on-off button, module name, multiple instance menu, reset button, and the presets menu, what I like to call the hamburger menu. First, we're going to turn on a few purely technical modules that will automatically correct some subtle imperfections in our image caused by our camera sensor and lens. Click the on-off button to turn on each of these modules: chromatic aberrations, lens correction, denoise profiled. Lens correction fixes distortion and vignetting using lens metadata. Chromatic aberrations removes color fringing along high contrast edges caused by lens imperfection. Profile denoise manages sensor noise early, so when we add contrast later, we're not amplifying it. You can open individual modules by clicking on their name. Let's open the demosaic module by clicking on its name. Confirm the method is set to RCD, then enable Capture Sharpen. This isn't the creative sharpening you're used to. It's micro detail recovery early on. Start sharp, stay sharp. The principle here is simple. Fix technical flaws first, then work on making it beautiful. Now let's set exposure. Open the exposure module by clicking on its name. Click the picker. Draw a box over a mid-tone area of the image. In the case of a portrait, this would be the face. Darktable automatically sets the correct exposure. Check the histogram. Midtones should sit comfortably in the center. If necessary, you can adjust the exposure and black level correction sliders. For a well-exposed daylight shot like this, you'll probably need very little adjustment, and that's good. Exposure is about accuracy, not drama. Drama comes later. By the way, you can press Command B to toggle on and off a white border around your image. When you edit inside a dark interface, your eyes dark adapt. You almost always end up making the image too dark. By surrounding the photo with white, you give your brain a reference for true white. If your midtones look muddy compared to that border, they probably are. It's simple. You can toggle it on and off anytime with Command B. Now we handle white balance. In Lightroom, you just have a single slider. In Darktable, white balance lives inside the color calibration module. Yes, that's confusing at first, especially if you're coming from Lightroom, but Darktable separates color calibration from color grading. We're not grading yet, we're defining the light source. This image was shot in direct sunlight. Open the Color Calibration module by clicking on its name. Go to the Cat tab. Under Illuminant, choose D, Daylight. One click, done. You can fine-tune the temperature slider slightly, if needed. We're not trying to be creative, we're just setting up a starting point. Consistency beats guessing. Now we'll give the image some life. The Color Balance RGB module is one of Darktable's strongest features. It controls vibrance, saturation, and contrast all in one place. Before we open the module, let's use a preset. Click the hamburger menu. Choose Basic Colorfulness, then Vibrant Colors. This gives you a standard starting point. Now, let's open the module and make some tweaks. Keep an eye on the histogram while you're making these adjustments. Maybe a small bump in global vibrance. Some slight adjustments to global saturation. A little tweak to global brilliance. Or get very specific and adjust the saturation in the highlights, midtones, and shadows independently. The goal isn't to make it look processed, it's to make it feel alive. By the way, you can always double-click on a slider to reset it. Or, if you really get lost, click the Reset Parameters button in the module header to return to the module default settings and try again. Now we handle tone mapping. Open the AGX module. It compresses the wide dynamic range of the raw file into something your screen can display naturally. Go to the Primaries tab. Set Base Primaries to sRGB. Then go to the Settings tab. Click the eyedropper picker to auto-tune levels. Darktable sets white and black exposure boundaries automatically. Now let's refine this to our personal taste. Click the Show Curve button to display a graphical representation of the transform. Watch the curve change to better understand the function of each slider while you adjust it. Adjust the contrast slider to control the midtones. Toe power and shoulder power are funny names for sliders. They control the top, shoulder, and the bottom, toe, of the tone curve. The toe power slider shapes shadow contrast. The shoulder power controls highlight roll-off. Pivot relative exposure shifts tonal balance, basically sliding the histogram left or right. This is where the image really locks in. AGX gives smoother highlight transitions than older workflows, especially in bright skies. At this point, everything we've done is global. Nothing is image specific, so this is where we save it. Open the History panel, click the Compress History Stack button. This consolidates multiple module adjustments into single values. Then, click the little button next to that button to create a style. Name it something like Daylight Base. Only include the modules we've adjusted so far. Don't include crop, rotate, retouch, or gradients. Save it. Now go back to Lighttable. Select your images, open the Styles panel on the right. Double-click your saved style, and just like that, your entire shoot has a consistent, polished starting point. This is the efficiency moment. Do global work once, apply it everywhere. If this workflow is already making Darktable feel less intimidating, that's a good sign. If you're finding this helpful, hit like. It will help more photographers find this structured workflow and avoid getting lost. Now we handle what's unique to each particular image. Back into the darkroom. First, rotate and perspective. Level the horizon using the slider or right-click and drag along it. Close the module to commit. Even on a clear day, the atmosphere can blur distant mountains, so I'm going to click on the Haze Removal module. Adjust the strength and distance sliders until the distant peaks look crisp without looking crunchy. Next, graduated density. If the sky is slightly bright, place the control line near the top of the frame. Increase the density slightly. Maybe deepen the blue a touch. Use the eyedropper picker to sample the sky, then increase the saturation. Keep it subtle. If someone notices your gradient, you've gone too far. If there are sensor dust spots or other distractions you want to eliminate, use the Retouch module. Under Retouch Tools, select a circle, ellipse, path, or brush. Click on the problem spot. Reposition the source or target if needed. The heal algorithm here is really excellent, especially in skies. Something I've not mentioned so far is that individual modules can be duplicated. You do this using the Multiple Instances button. Here's a good chance to try this out. We use the exposure module way back at the start to set the global exposure, but we can create another instance of the exposure module to brighten just a portion of our image. Click on the Multiple Instances button on the exposure module and select New Instance from the pop-up menu. Click the Draw Mask pencil icon, and then under the Draw Mask section, select a circle, ellipse, path, brush, or gradient. I'll select the ellipse for this edit. Click on the image where you want the center of the mask. You can adjust the size and feather with the small mask handles or by scrolling your mouse wheel. In the case of an ellipse, you can hold down the Control key while clicking a mask handle to rotate the ellipse. If you want to move the image around instead of resizing the mask, hold down the A key. Now, adjust the exposure with the exposure slider. It only applies to the masked area. Adjust the feather radius and blurring radius sliders to blend the adjustment in with your image. You can toggle on and off the path display with the small Show and Edit Mask Elements button. You can create as many instances of a module as you want. And finally, crop. I always do this edit last. Until you know the destination, print, web, social media, or video, you don't know the proper aspect ratio or framing. This module works exactly as you would assume. Set the aspect ratio, drag the handles, and close the module to commit. Oh, one more efficiency tip. You can press Command-C to copy the module settings from one image and then press Command-Shift-V to selectively paste settings to another image. For example, the crop. After we finish editing all of our images, it's time to export. But before we do that, let's toggle Command-B again, the white border. Look carefully. Are the midtones still clean? Did we push the contrast too far? Are the highlights smooth? If it looks good against white, it will look good anywhere. Now, let's export our final images. Select your images in the Light table, then expand the Export panel on the right. In the Export module, select the following: Target storage, File on disk. File format, JPEG, 8-bit. Quality, 95 to 100. High quality resampling, yes. Profile, sRGB, WebSafe. Those last two items are critical. Always use high quality resampling. Plus, use sRGB for everything intended for web, social media, or standard PhotoLab printing. Only use Adobe RGB or ProPhoto RGB if you're exporting 16-bit TIFF files for further editing in apps like Affinity or Photoshop. Click Export. Well, that's my 10-step Darktable workflow. It's structured, it's repeatable, and it keeps you from wandering through 60 modules wondering what to touch next. Darktable isn't hard, it's unstructured. Once you impose structure, it becomes predictable, and predictable is powerful. Darktable isn't a free replacement for Lightroom. It's a different philosophy. Once you stop looking for the Lightroom buttons and start using this 10-step structure, you'll realize you're not just saving the subscription, you're gaining control. If you want the exact setup I'm using, including the module list and configuration steps, my free Darktable workflow guide is linked in the video description. Set it up once, then use this system every time. If this helped you make sense of Darktable, hit like and subscribe. It will help more photographers find this video and save them from getting lost. And if you've been using Darktable for a while, I'd genuinely love to hear your approach in the comments. Thanks for watching.